everybody, welcome back to Fountain Pen Deluxe. It is 2025 ink advent calendar time, and you know that I bought the Diamine and Colorverse ink advent calendars. So I thought we could swatch week one and talk about the inks and which advent calendar is the winner for the week overall. I have a number of ink swatching things in front of me, and we will be using the Aerofil notebook. It has beautiful, beautiful fountain pen friendly paper. Let's start off with Diamine. So day one was this color right here, Celestial Skies. And if you look on the side of the Diamine bottles, it tells you if it has any special ink property. So this is a shimmer. You can see the shimmer right there. So let's give it a little shake and get to swatching. In the past, I have had a lot of fun with the ink advent calendars. I think that last year, Colorverse went a little bit crazier with their inks in terms of colors, and Colorverse was maybe a little bit more usable but subdued, and I didn't find myself using the Inkvent colors that often, so I was sort of on the fence this year about whether I should purchase it. But it's just so much fun, and you know how that FOMO gets. Everybody else in the community is doing something and you want to participate. All right, so we went in with a swizzle stick, and now I'm going to use the Kakamori dip nib to get a good amount of ink onto the nib. So let's write the name here. So this is, again, Celestial Skies. It looks very pretty. It looks like it's kind of sheening, shimmering, color shifting, and it has some beautiful shimmer to it. So we'll take a closer look at this once it dries down. But that is what it's looking like right now. And maybe I'll actually grab my Speedball. This is the B1 nib, and I'll put that into the holder and give this a quick shake again and do a little bit of monolining. So let's see, I think I'll just write day one. I'm honestly not that great with monolining, but it does look cool. All right, so there is Celestial Skies by Diamine, day one. Pretty. And then for day two, we have a high sheening ink called Energy, and it just says sheen on the side. So no need to shake, but we'll just give it a little turn. We will go in with our swizzle stick and make a big blob and then some lines. And then we'll go in with our Kakamori dip nib and get all of the ink in those grooves. And then this is called Energy. Line, line, line. You can really see how thick that ink is when you go to clean it off. And then dip in with the Speedball nib to write day two. Neat. And you can already see the sheening coming through with this one. It's like a purple, and it looks like it's going to be a green. And then the one above it, you can see the shimmer coming through and the sheen. It's beautiful. Inks are so much fun, aren't they? All right, then we have day three Diamine, and this is called Carousel. And this is a pigment ink. So Diamine came out with some pigment inks this year, and it's kind of interesting because people have had mixed experiences with them. Some people have had no issues at all with them, and some people have had them discolor their nibs. I guess just a word of caution. So first we'll go in with our swizzle stick and make a big blob. And this ink is so thick, very Christmassy. And even when I wiped it off in the water, look at how much is still left on the swizzle stick. That's a lot. Then we will go in with our Kakamori dip nib and get this all inked up in the ridges. And this is called Carousel. Line, line, line. It looks like it has a little bit of a shimmer to it almost. I don't know, it's kind of interesting. And then let's get our Speedball nib, make sure this is all cleaned off, and then we'll write day three. There you go. So pigment inks can be a little bit thick, and I have one in one of my vanishing points right now with a medium fine nib, and it definitely does not want to flow very easily. You just need to find the right pen and the right nib for that. But there is Carousel still drying, and there is Energy and Celestial Skies. Next up we have Smoky Tobacco. This is a scented ink. Interesting choice with tobacco, but okay. So let's get our swizzle stick, and I think we can fit it at the bottom here. Get a nice big blob. Definitely not as thick after the last few, which were very viscous. Then we have our Kakamori, and this is Smoky Tobacco. Almost looks like it could be, there's some variation in the ink, so it's not just one thick color. And then we'll go in with our speedball nib and just write day 4. Let's smell this. It doesn't really have much of a smell, actually. I guess, if anything, it has a little bit of a cologne, like a woody cologne type smell. So it's not offensive in any way. Okay, so we are at the first 4 colors for Diamine week 1. And once they dry, we'll take a look at all of them close up. All right, so I got some clean water because it was getting a little bit dirty. And now we are at number 5, which is Marie Rose. And this is a standard ink. Let's move this over here and get our swizzle stick and make a nice blob. This looks like it's going to be, again, a lighter sort of color. I like that. It's very gentle. Sort of has like a wilted rose type color. Now let's get our Kakamori dip nib. Dip it in there. And this is Marie Rose. I feel like this is a very usable color. Do some lines there. I like how there's dark spots and light spots. That's really cool. Now our speedball nib, we'll load that up with ink, and this is day 5. And you can see that the water is pretty clear, so it's not a thick ink at all. That's really pretty. Now we have day 6, Fur and Fog. This is a chameleon ink, and let's give that a good shake. Dip in our swizzle stick. This, I can tell, is a little bit thicker. Ooh, pretty. It's like, what do you call that? It's a mix between a green and a blue. Well, it does sort of remind me of a fir tree in a way. And then go in with the dip nib. I will give this one more shake to make sure that we're getting all of the shimmer incorporated. Fur and Fog. Yeah, I like that. Another kind of gentle color. And then we can use the Speedball B3 nib to write day 6. I can't believe we haven't gotten ink everywhere yet. Okay. I like that one. That's really pretty. Actually, I think chameleon ink is when the shimmer is the same color as the ink, so it kind of blends in. I'll have to look that up. All right, last one is blush. This is day 7, and this is another standard ink, a pink one, so you know I'm looking forward to this. So we have our swizzle stick. We're putting down a large circle, and then some lines. Again, it's very gentle. Kakamori, load it up. This is blush, line, line. And then let's get our speedball nib, and we have day 7. Okay. That is the first week of the Diamine Inkvent calendar. Let's see if we can take a closer look. There's blush. That is really pretty. Sulfur and Fog. I really like Marie Rose with that color shifting. That's beautiful. And Smoky Tobacco actually dried kind of interesting. It has sort of a rough look to it. Carousel, very bright, very pigmented. Energy is purple and green. Pretty amazing. And Celestial Skies, they went hard with that first one. Check that out. Beautiful. We'll let this dry and we'll come back and look at it when it's all done. And now let's take a look at all of the Colorverse colors for week 1. So you get a bigger bottle slightly. This is 15 mils versus 12 mils in the Diamine, 15 mils in the Colorverse. The bottles are glass, not plastic. It does say on the Colorverse bottles as well if it's a glistening ink or if there's any other special call outs. I don't think that Colorverse does scented inks. I think they usually just do typically standard, and then there are a few glistenings in there. I've decided to do the Colorverse in a different notebook that has really beautiful paper so we can easily compare them side by side instead of having to flip back and forth. This is going to be our Colorverse book. It's the original Tomoegawa paper while we let the Diamine week 1 dry. And first up for Colorverse, day 1 is Martian Dust. So I'm assuming a rusty red color. We have our swizzle stick. We'll put down a nice big circle. It is a very deep kind of Martian red, actually, is what I would, how I would describe it. So that works. Let's move this to the side, dip in our Kakamori, and this is Martian Dust, line, line, line. I like how pigmented it is for a standard ink. That's really cool. And then we'll get our speedball nib, load that up, and this is day 1. That looks nice. I like that. I feel like that's a very usable ink color, sort of in the vein of Writer's Blood or something like that. So that's day 1. Day 2, we have a pollen. Yeah, I think that's how you would say it. Another standard ink, swizzle stick. Okay, we've got our swatch, whoops. Our swatch here, and then we'll take our Kakamori dip nib and write the name. We'll do some lines. Reminds me of a sunflower, kind of. This is day 2. Nice. I like how that's coming out and drying. I like the darker and the lighter shading. All right, day 3, we have Erebus Crater. Looks like potentially a gray with some undertones of pink. So we will dip into this, put down our circle and then our lines. And then we go in with the Kakamori and write the name. Erebus Crater. It's already starting to chromo shade right here, which looks really beautiful. And then let's go in with our speedball and we will write day 3 right at the bottom here. Okay. Pretty. I was actually just thinking last night that I wanted a gray ink to use in one of my fountain pens to use in a spread that I had decorated sort of in a gray color. I have Diamine Earl Grey, but this might be a nice one to use. We'll let that dry. We'll move on to day 4, which is Milky Sea, and this is a glistening ink. You can see that beautiful shimmer there. So let's shake that up a little bit and go in with a swatch. So this is a purple. Very pretty. And we have our Kakamori dip nib, but again, to be fair, I'm going to give this another shake because look at how quickly the shimmer falls to the bottom. And I want to make sure that we're really catching all of the ink properties. So we'll put this in here and load it up. And this is called Milky Sea. I usually just do lines to use up the rest of the ink and then see how it reacts as there's less and less ink on the nib, because sometimes with sheening inks, you won't even see the base color if you have too much ink on the page because it's overpowered by the sheening properties. So anyway, that's why I like to do a few different writing styles on the page. And then we'll go in with the speedball nib and we will write day 4. Beautiful. I'm excited to see what that looks like when it dries. So there is Milky Sea, glistening, Colorverse. Next up we have the Void, just a standard ink. I'm assuming black. We have our Swizzle Stick and oh yeah, that is black and that is thick. It doesn't say that it's a pigment ink, but I wonder. This is what it looks like after rinsing in the water. So it is sort of viscous. And then let's go in with this Kakamori. We'll write the Void. It's always nice to have a simple black ink that's not troublesome. I'll be interested to see if this dries down shiny or matte. So there we go. Now let's get our speedball nib, and this is day 5. We really need to make sure we have room for 2 more, because I'd like to be able to compare 2 pages for the Diamine and the Colorverse. Up next we have Sun Grazing Comet right here. Another standard ink. And we'll write the name and a few lines. Are we going to make it? Looks like that has some sheening that's coming through. Day 6, we'll make it fit. Okay. I think I like that one. Kind of reminds me of Diamine Polar Night. The last one for Colorverse, day number 7, is LGM. This looks like it'll be an interesting Mountain Dew type color. So let's see if that's right. Yep. Very interesting. LGM. And let's try to do a line and a line. And then lastly, we just need to write day 7. Where can I put my finger? Okay, we fit it all in. Awesome. Let me cap this before we have a catastrophe. But here are Colorverse week 1 inks, and we will let these dry. But yeah, very different than Diamine, I think, vibe-wise. So let's just give that a second and we'll check back and see how all of the inks look and any thoughts that we have about them. All right, here is our Diamine Inkvent calendar week 1, Celestial Skies. Beautiful shimmer and sheen. See, when you're looking at it head on, it just looks like there's some shading going on, and then if you tilt the page, there's sheening and shimmer. Beautiful. Energy, high sheening ink, purple to green. Very cool. When there's less ink on the page, you see more of the purple peeking through. Day 3 Carousel, a Diamine pigment ink. Very, very pigmented, obviously very thick, has a nice shine to it. Smoky Tobacco is day 4. It's a scented ink. Doesn't smell smoky, smells just sort of like a woody cologne. And it has an interesting texture to it almost. I kind of like it. Day 5, Marie Rose. Beautiful shading, sort of a wilted rose color. I think that that's very usable. Fur and Fog, a chameleon ink, a beautiful green color. I wish I was better describing colors. It's like I don't know what it reminds me of, like an ocean green, and it has green shimmer in it. Beautiful. And day 7, Blush. I love it. Look at all of that shading. So beautiful and very usable, I think. So those are week 1 for Diamine. And then week 1 for Colorverse. The first one is Martian Dust. I think it lives up to its name. It's a rusty red with brown, but no sheening going on necessarily. Very matte and very pigmented. Day 2, Apollon. Sort of like, I thought it was a sunflower yellow, and I guess it is in the lighter spots, but maybe more of a dried apricot color. Then we have Erebus Crater, and that is a beautiful chromo shading ink. There are reds and grays to light blue. Very, very pretty. Check out the chromo shading there. Love it. Milky Sea. This was the glistening ink in week 1 for Colorverse. It's a, I would say, blurple, and it has blue shimmer. Very pretty. The Void. So I thought this was just a plain sort of black. You can see it's got a shine to it. And I thought that when I cleaned it off of the swizzle stick, it had some purple undertones to it. So that is pretty cool. Sun Grazing Comet. It's a bright blue with red sheen to it. Really, really pretty when the light hits it. And then straight on, it just sort of looks blue. And then the last one, day 7, LGM. It's sort of like a Mountain Dew color is what it reminds me of. A neon green with hints of a pale kind of spring green coming through, maybe even a little yellow. So that is Colorverse week 1. Which one is your favorite? If I had to choose a favorite, I would choose the Diamine. I love all of the different colors and all of the different ink properties, and I can see myself using a lot of these. But Colorverse did a good job too. Surprisingly, I think that Martian Dust is probably my favorite. And I think I'm going to put that into a pen today. And then I think I'm going to put Marie Rose into a pen and maybe Fur and Fog. So week 1 of the Colorverse and Diamine Inkvent calendars in the books. I'm excited to come back for week 2. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you again soon. Bye.